Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is currently Ascension season here in Valorant. This is when all of the Ascension competitions are happening to see which of the challengers teams are going to be able to advance to VCT going into next year. And this is the perfect opportunity to get to see who are some of the really big up-and-coming players, who are the big up-and-coming teams all around the world, all across the globe. And one that caught my eye is going to be Bleed. Team Bleed eSports. Not exactly sure. I just know them as Bleed. Now, if you know me, then there's some obvious bias here. My husband is Singaporean. I love Singapore. And Bleed is a Singaporean team. And they actually have multiple Singaporean players on their roster, even more than Paper Rex, who is another Singaporean team and, who are actually in VCT Pacific. So definitely some bias there. And what's also interesting about Valorant specifically is that Singapore as a city/country, whatever you want to city state whatever hasn't, despite being a really growing in cultural impact in the region, partly because of their population size, but they haven't really had a lot of prominence in esports competitions. There certainly haven't really been any teams that I'm aware of across any game up until Paper Rex essentially that come from Singapore. I think Dota might have had like one tier 1 player that came from Singapore, but for the most part, they've basically not really been relevant at all. So to see multiple players, multiple teams really come to light and show good performances for Paper X actually being in VCT from the beginning, and then here Bleed showing themselves currently in the Ascension qualifier in a really good shot to qualify as well, which would make it 2 teams in VCT Pacific, I think is really, really cool and a really, really fast development on the competition side of things from that country. Now, while watching some of Bleed's games, there was one map in particular in their match against the Japanese team SCARZ that I thought was really, really cool. SCARZ picked Fracture into Bleed, who Bleed are no strangers to this map. It's certainly one of their better maps, but Bleed still ended up winning 13-5 despite this being a SCARZ pick. There were definitely some really cool things that I saw from Bleed this map that I wanted to share with you guys. First round I wanted to look at is round number 6, and if you're looking at the minimap, you don't need me to tell you that this is Bleed setting themselves up for a B main take. You're going to have the fault line from Neff, you're going to have the stim beacon from Scary, and then you're going to have Juicy, who is going to go on a tear. Now, in this specific situation, I am personally against this maneuver. When you look at the economy across the board, you have 5 rifles for Bleed. You only have 2 rifles and 3 upgraded pistols on the side of SCARZ. When you have that sort of economic advantage, you really don't want to throw yourself into chaos, because that could easily give an opportunity for SCARZ to upgrade a rifle of their own, get multiple kills on you. When you're in this situation, you want to try and play as calm and collected as possible. However, there are some reasons why Bleed want to go for this maneuver. It's possible that this could be a read on how SCARZ like to play. Up until this point in this match, they've been hitting A after A after A after A after A hit after A hit. So it could easily be a read that Bleed have on SCARZ that they're going to go for B at this point. 6th round in, they're going to finally go B, and they want to cut them off, catch them off guard, regardless of what the economic situation is, or regardless what the weaponry situation is. The other alternative is that the big threat of the orbital strike. If you give SCARZ too much map control, especially with Fracture, where you're likely going to have whatever map it is, whatever side it is, you're likely going to have a pincer coming in from multiple angles. If they have too much map control, orbital strike can deal a lot of damage, whether actual physical damage or even just cutting you off further, allowing them access into the site. There's a reason why Brimstone is such a meta pick on this map. And so, regardless of the weaponry, because of the threat of the orbital strike, it's reasonable that Bleed would want to make sure that SCARZ don't get too much map control right off the bat. So, while I personally would not recommend this maneuver on this specific round with this specific credit situation for both teams, I don't think it's an objective statement that it's a bad maneuver. And regardless, this round, there are some good responses that Bleed have continuing throughout, which is also why I wanted to show it. But let's just play the round and see where it goes. So the hit looks pretty standard. The B main take looks pretty standard, but they haven't actually found a kill through it. And they go for a repeat. They go for a little bit of an aggressive repeat, and Scary is the one that gives up first blood. That's actually the controller down for Scary. Jemkin's going to take it with the Vandal. This is why I wouldn't have recommended this maneuver, because right off the bat, despite having the economic advantage, you give the man advantage over to SCARZ. But As I said before, the response, I think, is really, really good. I'm especially liking what I see from this side of the map. With as many bodies as they saw here on B main, and then, of course, this guy not spotting anything here at A main, there is a really, really reasonable, if not guaranteed fact, that the north side of this map is going to be relatively clear. So already, you see Crazy Guy moving up, going in through Dish, trying to find as much information as he can, not even using his own resources, just walking it. Just walking it, trying to spot things out. And everyone else on the team has cut noise. They've allowed them to pick that rifle up. The smokes in play have definitely allowed for that as well. So SCARZ putting some resources to make sure that they can get yet another rifle here in the mix. So now they have 3. But everyone else on Bleed don't want to lose any more players, which is the objectively correct decision to make. So they also cut noise, they back away, they don't overpush things. And with all of this information that Crazy Guy is getting here on the north side, despite being down a man, there's a lot of information for Bleed to work with.
With the man advantage. But that's what all they wanted. Make that noise, go back to B main, and then...
Now at this point you can see Alan from SCARZ has gotten back to that dead body, has gotten back to Scary's body, and with the Cypher ultimate ready, again, that is not an ultimate that you just want to save. Use it. If there's a body, you have the ultimate ready, just use it. And it's going to be spotting out these 4 players, basically evenly spread around the map. Because again, Bleed, they cut noise themselves. SCARZ also cut noise. Everyone just sort of spread back out into a default. And with the information that Crazy Guy was able to get, Bleed just sort of spread themselves, played in pairs. Waited to see where SCARZ would want to hit next.
Confirming presence here, actually pretty spread throughout for Bleed.
Yeah,
And in this case, partly, maybe because they're more comfortable with it, maybe because of all of the Killjoy utility, they're going to go back to A. And they do actually have an open sight. They even make sure, now this ultimate, I'm not entirely sure why they felt the need to use it at this time. Moments ago, we saw the Sova up here on the north side. We saw the Raze here in the interior. I guess this was a way for them to make sure that this was all cleared, that the site itself, like, no one just, like, rushed onto that angle. But I do think that that was a bit of a waste. Hindsight 2020, perhaps. But Jemkin's ult coming into this is definitely a really good ability. I also like the smokes that are coming into play for SCARZ. But at this point, the rotation is already coming on in. And so they need to go fast to clear this site and get the spike plant down. But the recon bolt stalls them out a little bit. Juicy's gonna swing on in, get a whole bunch of kills. And even this very, very aggressive drop down with the backup of teammates behind him means that even if he didn't get that kill, still gonna likely get traded, and now all down to Allen, not going to do anything. So don't even allow the spike to go down. Really good. Despite losing the man, despite losing Scary at the top of things, Scary was the only death from Bleed this round. Juicy coming in with a 4K as well. So the response to the information that they got, really, really positive maneuvers coming out from Bleed this round. Next round is towards the end of the half, round 11. This one is going to start with a really, 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 really fast B take from the north side by SCARZ. And again, it's going to be the response from Bleed that allows them to turn this one around.
And this is where SCARZ looks really strong. They get those initial picks, and if they don't, they'll at least have something to keep you...
Again, standard push, and this time it is all 5 players, and making sure Jemkin can get the ult orb. But now with the showstopper at the ready, despite being stunned up a little bit, and even with the mollies in play, just going to boost on over that, get the 1 kill. I mean, with the help of Yoshi, but still, that showstopper would have done it anyway. But here, again, is the response. Over the smoke, 1 fantastic molly from Scary is not just going to deny the spike plant, but also get the kill on the spike planter. And so if we take a pause and look at what the current situation is, everyone else from SCARZ is kind of stuck here still in tower. All the smokes have faded, or, you know, over here have faded or in the process of fading. And at this point, everyone here has already rotated into position. So this basically, again, off of 1 molly, suddenly a big advantage for Bleed, because in order for anyone from SCARZ to get onto the site, to grab that spike that was deep onto the site, they're going to have to run across this entire huge chasm that is just held multiple angles.
Have been incredible here for Bleed between Scary and Crazy Guy. SCARZ now
It's pretty rudimentary Valorant at this point. Utility being traded across the board. Good shots from both sides. This did go down to a 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2 at the moment. A lot of good trades. But Juicy coming out on top in the end. Again, Juicy only getting a few frags this time around, but it's the setup from the rest of the team that is allowing Juicy to thrive as much as he is in this match, much less just how this team plays in general. But yeah, this round did get down pretty close, but the instantaneous response from Bleed, as well as just Scary in particular, responding with their own smokes and Molotovs to stop the site from falling in an instant, which is frankly what it looked like for a split second there. Bleed really, really, really love their retakes, and again, back to back, round number 12. SCARZ, as you can tell, they have a little bit of a weakened buy here, but you got to buy up because it's the last round. They're going to go for a similar maneuver, just push in from the north side of B. And again, Bleed, they're just going to kind of let it happen. They have a lot more people on A this time. It is a bit of a misread on their end. While SCARZ do push in through Arcade in a very, very similar fashion, Bleed are just going to continue to give them the site. They're not going to fight for it, but they're going to be dealing a bunch of damage, a bunch of pieces of utility already on the site. You can see Jemkin has dropped very, very low. Crystal has dropped very, very low. And while that was happening, it was an entire push through A, through attacker spawn, and now it's even more angles coming in for Bleed on the retake here. And so despite the spike going down, Bleed have basically opened a trap, and they're in the process of closing it. Showstopper is going to find the first kill. Rolling Thunder follows up beyond that, and it just gives Bleed access onto the entire site. They still need to push into tower, and as you watch here, it is not going to be the most straightforward approach, but still, it's just a war of attrition at this time. And this is not easy to do. What Bleed are doing with all of these retakes, it requires understanding exactly where the openings that they are allowing SCARZ to take are, as well as being able to play very, very strongly, intuitively off each other. Now we're moving over to the attacking side for a couple of rounds here on Bleed. As you can see at this point, round 17, they are up 11-5. Spoiler, they're going to close this entire series out 13-5, so they're going to be winning these final two that I want to look at. At this point, SCARZ knows that they are in a really, really rough situation, and they have started to go aggressive on their own defensive side. They are going to continue that here, and you can see that Bleed is just once again allowing SCARZ to do what they want, and they're going to react very, very well off of it, almost Tai Chi style, using their opponent's momentum against them. Round begins, and Bleed, they're kind of poking, they're prodding, but again, they're waiting for SCARZ to go, it almost looks like SCARZ are on the attack side with all of the movement that you can see up there, down here, just one player really just trying to anchor onto one of the two sites, right? And again, it's because SCARZ, they're just, they're scrambling here, they're trying to look for an opportunity. 2-for-1 trade at this point, but Darian gets hit with a lot of utility, a lot of pressure, but he does such a good job of not just making sure to deal as much damage as possible, but also buying time. Because while this fight has been happening down here in attacker spawn, look at how much ground the rest of Bleed have come in from Dish, have basically taken the entire site. And it's not that Crystal just had blinders on. Crystal knew that if they tried to run back onto the site, they'd likely get shot in the back, and you want to try and limit all the different angles that you need to worry about, right? But just because Darian has played this so so conservatively, really using time as a weapon, the spike is gonna, despite Darian about to go down, the spike is gonna go down in a trade. Bleed basically have the site in a 3-on-2 advantage. At this point, there's not a lot of information, if any at all, on where Toroneko is here on B side. Now, there is the orbital strike in play for Bleed. You already see Scary rotate here, group up with Juicy, just going to be holding A main with the orbital strike. If say, for example, Toroneko snuck in around here because Neff is also going to group up in this area. Toroneko is able to sneak on in there. They hear the spike defuse sound, trigger real quick. You have the orbital strike, and you're good to go. But also, they know that, you know, they have Crystal cornered on in. They could even just 2v1, 3v1 that engagement. That's basically going to be the round over. So they're going to keep Crystal pinned on in. Got the showstopper. Might as well use it. Clear out that corner. Now you know there's only one angle for Crystal to peek out at. Crystal does get scary. Again, that's the orbital strike going down. And so instantly, they need to sort of readjust what their plan is in case Toroneko did sneak in onto the site. That's going to be a rifle grabbed. And shots coming out. Now information is, and you know, 2 versus 1. They know where the last player is. This is a pretty open and shut case at this point.
No time whatsoever for SCARZ to work with. This is such an imposition by Bleed. Think about it. SCARZ may have won the battle towards Darion, but Bleed will win this war in this round.
We're looking to win this entire bout too.
But as you saw in that round finish, again, highlighting Bleed's ability to stay cool, calm, and collected, to use a cliche, right? They had a 2 versus 1. There could have easily been the motivation just to rush Toroneko down, but instead they just backed away. They allowed Toroneko to save that one rifle because they didn't want to act, you know, let's just say fumble the ball there at the end, give Toroneko a 2-person spray down and lose the round that way. Instead of going in and winning the round, they just made sure without the shadow of a doubt that they would not lose it, if that makes any sense. Let's just go back to this moment. Once the shots come out, they knew who this last player was. They knew that he had a rifle. Already it's about just protecting the spike. They're just slowly backing away. And Neff has even put himself in a great position here to make sure that if there is a sneaky spike defusal that tries to come in despite the time having run down as much as it has, that it's not going to be successful. But staying behind cover, making sure that Toroneko can't get any kills to give himself another advantage. And just the fadeaway. At this point, Spike is not going to get defused, and they get to keep their own weapons. Despite the credits aren't even a big issue at this point for really any of these players. I mean, except maybe Juicy, but again, that's they could have been bought for after this round. It's just this sense of utter control that Bleed have just been building up more and more and more across this entire map. And these final few rounds, it's at peak form. And I imagine for the players on the side of SCARZ, it just feels like running into a brick wall every single round at this point. Listen, if you thought that round 17 was good, just watch this one. Already, once again, Bleed are waiting for the push that is going to happen. SCARZ are taking it a little slow here coming out of B main, but they're going to push either way. They hit contact. Darion is going to back away. Crazy Guy tries to take the fight with the LMG, but Toroneko is going to get the better of him. Darion still going to try and hold this position because, as you can see on the map, while all of this fighting is happening, A is being taken. A is being pushed down. It's open. It's free. Even with Darion going down, Yoshi getting the second kill of the round for SCARZ. It is still the entire A site already been taken. Smoke's in play. They have the time not only for the spike plant, but for everyone to get off site and to now suddenly have this really, really, really strong crossfire in play. That's an odd, awkward frame to pause on. But look at the utility that is still available for Bleed. Yeah, there's a lot of utility coming out from this side as well. A whole bunch of ultimates. Everyone has an ultimate on the side of SCARZ. But you don't want to discount what's available here. Jemkin is going to push on in first with the showstopper at the ready. Neff is going to try and face that. Does get traded 1 for 1. And so now with the 4 versus 2, 4 ultimates at the ready, you have to imagine that's going to be SCARZ with a really, really big advantage. But instantly, Orbital Strike comes on in. In fact, let's push it forward. Let's look at this. Look at this angle up here on the top right. Orbital Strike, and then there's a Molotov already flying for the perfect timing on top of the spike. Scary already gets that first kill on the Toroneko. And then the Molotov is there in play to keep that spike from getting defused even further. And with the kills that are coming in from Juicy, paint shells are back into play. So just the insane mass amounts of AoE ability from Bleed shows that, one, you have to use it very, very well, and you got to time it very, very well. But once you get that spike plant down on the A side, if you have your utility and your angles set up properly, and then, of course, I mean, you can't discount a 3K from Juicy as well. But once you get everything set up like that, it is just so, so hard to push through. And outro time. You're going to get your thanks for watching. You're going to get your don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And, of course, you're going to get a see you next time. Bye.